Hey everyone, Yasin here, and in my last few videos I've been explaining the importance of doing what you enjoy in art and the benefits of that. But some people have been asking me, well, how do you enjoy things? How do you have fun with art? And I wanted to share some of the things I found which can help to making art an enjoyable experience. Okay, so one thing that is very helpful, I find, is to make it so you enjoy the process. And sometimes that means enjoying what you're doing, like enjoying the feeling of growing. But sometimes it's a lot more simple than that. It's something like, I like using this tool. So I would say in the beginning, it's very good to experiment. You know, sometimes, I don't know if you have an art store near you, but oftentimes in art stores, they have a thing where you can like sort of test the different pencils and pens and things that they have. I think there's got to be a stage where you kind of experiment a lot and you just try and find what works for you. Because if you find a thing that works really well, it can make a huge difference. Like you might find a pen that it's like, I don't care what I draw with this, I just love the lines that it makes. And that's going to be so beneficial because if you're just enjoying the fact that you can make any line with this tool, the chances of you putting in the time, gaining the mileage go way up. So, yeah, different brushes, different pencils, different programs. So maybe you just like using MS Paint and you don't want to learn Photoshop or use any other program with a fancy brush engine. If you really enjoy MS Paint and that's all you use, the chances of you improving go higher than if you were using like a program you don't like but technically is considered like more of a professional program. So I would definitely just use the program that works best for you. And you might think, well, but I can't do this, this, and this in this program. And maybe that's something that stops you. I know for myself with making my comic, initially I was doing it on the iPad in Procreate. And I was doing that because it felt comfortable to me. It just felt nice to be in that program, using that software. But then I knew about Clip Studio. I knew it was superior for making manga. It was like basically built for making manga. So I was always pushing towards that. And I would do stuff in Clip Studio and it's much faster, much more efficient. But I didn't really want to create so much, so the chances of me actually sitting down and making a comic went down, even though the program is technically superior, like it has way more features. It's built for this. So in the end, I just went back to Procreate, and it's like, for any individual task, let's say doing word balloons, it's slower. Or making panels or anything, it's slower. But the alternative isn't between slower and faster for me. It's not like use slow Procreate or use fast Clip Studio. It's the difference between making stuff and not making stuff. Like if I use slow Procreate, I'm probably going to make stuff. If I use fast Clip Studio, I'm probably going to procrastinate and not actually make the stuff. So that was a thing. Like, oh, better to do the thing that maybe other people give you advice and they say, you really shouldn't be doing that. But if it works for you and it actually gets you to do stuff, that's way better. Because as I said, the alternative is usually not between something that's slow and fast or something that's effective and non-effective. It's usually the difference between doing a thing and not doing a thing. Another thing you can do is find other things that you enjoy. So even something like value ranges matter. So what I mean by value ranges is, at the darkest value, you have black. At the lightest value, you have white. And within those, people tend to, it's like some people like a full value range, like they like images that go all the way from black to white, but some people really prefer limited value ranges. Like maybe it's a high key, so that what that means is the darkest value in your image might be like a medium gray, and then the lightest value might be white, or they might like low key, where like the darkest value is black, but the lightest value is medium gray. And sometimes just doing something that's pleasant to you, like finding out what you like and then working within that constraint, can help you, again, to just enjoy the process more, because you're enjoying what you see. Like just making random blobs already feels nice. So for myself, I'll do that. I'll usually start, I'm more on the darker end and lower contrast. Like I do full value range stuff, but I kind of prefer the darker stuff. So if it's personal work, I will do a low key value painting more likely. And I'll stick to certain colors. Colors are huge. So you might think you see something and it's like maybe you're doing a still life of something and you see colors and it's like, well, I really should be faithful to the colors. And that's a good exercise. But it's also possible, especially in the past, this was more common when people were using traditional paint. You wouldn't necessarily paint exactly the colors you see. You would use the colors you have and mix them and try and find what is warm and what is cool, like what colors or what temperatures in the painting are warmer. And then you use what you have at your disposal to make that happen. So maybe you don't have like the right green, but you have a more yellowed, like a yellow that's sort of greenish, and you would use that instead of the green. But colors are another thing where it's very personal and we have our tastes. And if you stick with colors you like, you're more likely to enjoy being in a state where you get to do that thing. Because it's like, hey, if I paint, I get to see colors that I like. And rather than have it where it's like, oh, what are the advantages of using colors that are like a bigger range of colors? Well, you could say it helps me more realistically interpret the world, and that's fair. But again, always think about this. Is it that you are getting a better result, or is it that the alternative is that you probably won't do the thing? Because if the alternative is you probably won't do the thing, I think using colors you like, even if they're not accurate necessarily, will probably lead to better results. And it's something that can sort of lead to a style where people get to know you for like, oh, you like these colors. Maybe you like pastel colors, right? So all your pictures are very pastel and in like a high key value range. And even if you drew something that's sort of darker or has lower values, you raise those values up. And then it just becomes, when you as an artist draw this thing, it's going to look like your stuff because you use your colors, you use your values, you use the brushes you're comfortable with, and all these things contribute to a style. So that's why a lot of times people say style is basically just your tastes, your preference is what you like. Another thing is arm movements. Like, this is probably not talked about much, but the way you hold your drawing instrument can affect how much fun you have. And it can also affect the results of the different, the different marks you can make with a drawing instrument. So for instance, I used to see people draw really cool smooth lines and I didn't know how to do that. And then I learned that, oh, you have to use your arm. You don't just use your fingers and like very small movements. You use your arm and make like big sweeping gestures. And not only did it look like, once I started doing that, not only did it look better, but it felt better. It was like this, it just felt better for my body to move in those ways. So even something like how you move, if it works with you or it works against you, maybe you don't like to make those kinds of movements. Well, that's okay. But no matter what, like once you get all your taste down, someone might look at that and say, that's not going to work, or point out the limitations, like, oh, but you should be doing this, you should be doing that. What I've found is the stubborn artists that don't listen and just do what they want anyway, usually, and it might take a couple years, but usually they develop and they can do whatever they want anyway. And it always works out. And at the end, everyone's like, oh, wow, you have such a unique style. Oh, that's so great. And they admire you for, some people will admire you for the things that a couple years ago they were saying not to do. And, oh, this is so bad and this is going to lead nowhere. And it's like, well, turns out that it didn't lead nowhere. And a lot of the coolest styles are because someone was stubborn and didn't really listen to the people around them, right? They just did what they wanted. And I think that's almost a superpower. Like all the fundamentals you can pretty much learn doing it any which way. If I was painting with like a dustpan and a little brush, I could probably, as long as I did it in the right way, still have decent results. Probably I'd have to draw on like a very big surface, like a wall, and I'd have to figure things out. But you can make anything work. There's people who use a chainsaw and make beautiful artwork, beautiful sculptures. It's fine. The chance of you doing stuff increases exponentially the more you enjoy it. And then I think the final thing I want to mention for enjoying art comes from a change in mindset. And you may not suffer from this, but I definitely had this problem myself. And it's, don't judge yourself for what you're doing. So let's say I find a pen I like and the lines are great, but I'm not really consistent with it. Maybe I don't know how to make it so the ink doesn't spill and kind of ruin the page. It's like, okay, but you like it. So with time, you will figure out solutions to all the problems you're having. It might take a bit of time, but stick with the fact that you enjoy it and that you like the result. You can usually solve all the other problems along the way just through practicing or I guess just doing stuff. Let's say it that way, because practice is fine so long as it's not mindless practice, but then one could say it's something else. I don't know. Anyway, but the important thing is that you are not judging yourself. If you like a certain subject matter, let's say people are telling you to draw a lot and that's how you get good. And maybe you just want to draw furries and that's what makes you happy. And then they're like, well, no, you shouldn't draw that because that's lame. And they make you feel like self-conscious about doing that. You're probably going to improve way slower, because the thing you should do is, well, you like drawing it, so draw it. It'll make it so you draw more. And really, that's like the biggest thing that determines whether someone's really good or not, is usually their mileage. To a point, it's mileage and enjoyment. So you could draw a lot, but draw things you hate, and then that feeling comes across in the art, so it doesn't capture people's attention as much. But when you're having fun, it really shows. And in terms of judgment, just know that the world is a very big place. So even if most or all the people around you don't like what you're doing, don't like what you're into, don't like the subject matter that you like, chances are someone does. And those people will really appreciate what you're doing. So I think it's very important to not judge yourself for your tastes. Maybe you like to paint everything with shades of orange, and it's like, that's your thing. Okay, do it. Don't worry about what other people say. Maybe you like drawing flowers, and you're watching a lot of people and they're kind of like saying figure drawing is the way to go, and you feel a bit bad because all you want to do is draw flowers. Well, do that. That's fine. It's very, very important. You don't judge yourself. You don't put yourself down. Because if you're putting yourself down for not being good enough, you're only going to get better if you do more. But if you put yourself down, the chances of you doing more go down as well. So you want your chances to go up. So you want to do the thing you enjoy more and make more. And then in the end, it'll work out. So, yeah, even without knowing necessarily what you want to draw, maybe it's just that you know you like drawing with oil pastel. And that's all you know. Like, I don't know what I like drawing, but I just know that this oil pastel feels the best. And I think that's going to be your best ticket to improving. And really ignoring what everyone else says about what is right and wrong and what you should do. Should is a terrible, terrible word, I feel like. It doesn't lead anywhere good. But yeah, okay. So I hope you find things you enjoy, and I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.